Hello, everybody. Hello. So, welcome, first of all. Before we start, please let me know if you can hear me well, if you can see the presentation on the screen well, so that in case something is not working, we can fix it quickly. But thank you very much for joining us. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for deciding to join this session. Today, we will be learning a little bit more about Airbnb and how it works with our channel manager. It's going to be an intense session. So before we start, I want to also thank my colleague that are here on the stage with me. Marisa, she's the Director of Partnership here at Lodgify, and Patricia, she's the Quality Specialist in the Customer Success team at Lodgify. All right, so a few just quick points before we start the actual session about this webinar. This webinar is being recorded, so do not worry if you couldn't join. Don't worry if you cannot make it till the end, because we will be sending you the recording in a follow-up email, probably tomorrow or on Monday. And it will also be uploaded on our YouTube channel. So if you go to YouTube and search for Lodgify, you will find our channel. This webinar in particular is part of a series that is called Mastering Lodgify. There's a playlist in our channel where you can find all of the previous episodes. And if you're interested, in the future, we will do more of these webinars about different topics. So you can find everything there, okay? So do not worry. With that said, let's get started. Today, as we were saying, we will be talking a little bit about how the integration between Lodgify and Airbnb works. What are the important things that you have to keep in mind, how this synchronization, once the connection has been set up, works, and a lot of interesting tips and insights also on the platform, so on Airbnb itself. So let's start. These are the topics that we will be covering today: how to optimize your listings on Airbnb, the requirements and the connection process, so how to request the connection and get it done, the organization categories, and how to work with the different settings in Lodgify so that they're exported to Airbnb, and also Airbnb messages and reviews, and how to manage everything from Lodgify. At the end, we will also leave 15 minutes for question and answers. So feel free to drop your questions in the chat so that later we can take care of them. In case we miss some, do not worry. We will be adding the answers to the replies, to the follow-up email that we will be sending together with the recording. All right, so I will let Marisa take over on this one so that she can give us some insights on this new partnership or partner status that we have with Airbnb, and also a lot of nice insights on how to optimize your listings with Airbnb.
Thanks, Adri, and hi, everyone. It's nice to see everyone sounding off in the chat. Lots of people from different places. So as Adri mentioned, I'm Marissa. I'm the Director of Partnerships at Lodgify, and part of my role is managing the relationship we have with our partners, and in this case, our connectivity partner, Airbnb. And we're really excited this year that we achieved the Preferred Plus software partner status with Airbnb, so it's their top partner tier. And what this means is that we've joined an exclusive group of top performing connectivity partners because we're able to offer a high quality and reliable connection. And what this means for you is that you benefit from that close relationship between the platforms by getting some added support and also expertise on how to optimize your listing. So that's exactly what we're going to do. We worked with Airbnb to review a sample of your listings and find opportunities where you can tweak some things to drive more bookings. Now, just a quick disclaimer here, you know your rental, you know your business and everything best. These are just some opportunities that we identified that you might be able to tweak, play around with to see if you can maybe make an impact and have the algorithm work a bit more in your favor. So the first one is going to be promotions. So the most important promotion is called the new listing promotion. And this is for listings that are new on Airbnb. So you can have been an Airbnb user, but if you have a new listing, you qualify for this promotion. And what it does is it gives your guests a 20% discount on the first 3 bookings. And we identified 1,140 Lodgify connected listings that are eligible for this promotion. The second is called the early bird discount. And this is a discount that allows your guests to book further in advance. And we identified 2,654 Lodgify connected listings that are eligible for this discount. And if you're worried about missing out on revenue or applying these discounts, you can always play around with the Lodgify markup feature that allows you to mark up the price for Airbnb channel specifically, so you can try to balance or offset some of those discounts. The next one is the guest restrictions. So the first guest restriction we're going to look at is government ID. So what this is it restricts your visibility and bookability of your listing to guests that have uploaded and they have a valid government ID to their Airbnb account. And not all guests have this. So it's really going to restrict whoever can see your listing. You can also collect this information through other channels. It is required in some countries or some states, or maybe you want to collect this information as an extra layer of security. But you can do this through a pre-check-in form or through check-in apps that will collect this for you and not restrict the bookability of your listing. And we've actually identified 7,570 Lodgify connected listings that have this opportunity. The next one is experienced guests. So again, this restricts the listing bookability to guests that have had prior experience booking through Airbnb. And again, this is up to you, but it's something that you can try to play around with if you want to. Not everyone's always been on Airbnb. And we identified 2,165 listings that are eligible for this opportunity. The next is booking settings. And, we understand booking settings are helpful for you to manage the administration of your rental. Maybe you can't take a booking on Wednesday because you have a family or you need to work. Or you don't want to check out on Saturday because it ruins the booking of the entire weekend. So, of course, that's completely understandable. But we're just saying maybe take a look and see if there's some places where you can be more relaxed or maybe have certain settings for specific seasons or days instead of having overall arching settings. And the first one is the minimum length of stay. So reducing this down so that you're not requiring your guests to book for a long period of time. So imagine you have a 3-night minimum. You're already going to be cutting out people that are looking for a quick weekend escape, right? They want to go Friday, Saturday, leave Sunday, 3-night minimum. They're not going to be able to do that. And we identified 6,881 Lodgify connected listings that could deal with reducing their minimum length of stay. The other one is maximum lead time. So this is the time that you allow guests to book in the future. And again, this is going to depend heavily on your rental, right? So if you have a really large rental that can sleep 15 guests, then your bookings are probably going to be booked out further in advance than if you have a studio that can sleep 1. But just playing around with this lead time to try to allow more flexibility for guests to book your listing. And for that maximum lead time, we identified 1,729 listings that were eligible for that opportunity. And then just to wrap up, the last one is the cleaning fee, the good old cleaning fee. So just reducing the price of your cleaning fee can kind of play around with the algorithm. We identified 5,754 listings that could deal with reducing the cleaning fee. And we know this is a touchy subject because depending on where you're located, your cleaning costs can be pretty high, or if you have the square footage of your rental is high, the length of the last stay. And again, guests are always, looking for the spick and span short-term rental whenever they get there. So this can be kind of a touchy subject. And some hosts now are opting to just include the cleaning fee costs in their nightly rate instead of actually having an additional cleaning fee. In the recent years, we've seen sort of a shift back from short-term rentals to hotels, and a lot of it has to do with friction from guests saying that they're not really happy to have a cleaning fee and also being asked to take out the trash. So maybe just adding that cost into your nightly rate can kind of help reduce that friction. And we've also seen on the Airbnb community, hosts report that when they don't add a cleaning fee, they find that the guests are less inclined to leave a mess when they're not paying up front. So they're more willing to go the extra mile, take out the trash, do the dishes, and do all that, and don't feel like they've already paid for that service. So those are all the tips that we have. If you have any questions, feel free to send them in the chat and we'll try to get back to you. And I will hand it off now back to Adri.
Thank you. Thank you, Marisa. These are great news. The partnership status is a great achievement for us, so we're all very excited. And as for these quick tips to optimize your listings on Airbnb, as Marisa said, if you have questions on how to configure the guest restrictions, etc., some of this will be covered during this session, but in case it isn't, we will try to answer those questions in the Q&A at the end. All right, so let's get started now with the more technical aspect, let's say, of the integration between Airbnb and Lodgify. So if you're interested in connecting your Airbnb listing to our channel manager, you have to meet very few requirements. First requirement is to have an account already created in Airbnb, one or more, because you can connect multiple Airbnb accounts to one Lodgify account if you want to. You don't even have to have the listings already created in Airbnb, because we can push the listings from Lodgify. So basically duplicate what you already have configured in Lodgify to Airbnb. And then you must have an active Lodgify subscription. That is it. Other than that, no requirements. But how do you connect to Airbnb? The first step would be to connect your Airbnb account. So there's a quick demo on how to do it. You will have to click on the channel manager, select Airbnb, then click on connect. This will take you to the Airbnb login page after accepting the terms and condition. You log into your Airbnb account and it's done. That's it. So this is how you connect just the account, your Airbnb account to your Lodgify account. This is a necessary step. Without this, we won't be able to connect to your existing listings or to push the rental from Lodgify to Airbnb. So this is really important. The next step would be to complete a form. The form is available in our knowledge base, or you can contact us and we will share it with you. It's just a form where we ask you to provide us with the settings and the listing information to be sure that we are connecting the right listing and that we configure the desired settings for your Airbnb listings for you. So questions that you will find in the form. What do you want to use on Airbnb? Instant booking or booking request? Which cancellation policy you want to apply in Airbnb? Flexible, moderate. So you have the list of available options. Which is the markup that you want to apply to your listing. So the price increase for Airbnb. And then provide us with your Airbnb account ID and with your Airbnb listing ID, and also let us know to which Lodgify rental you want to connect. These are just some of the questions. Other questions are related to the guest requirements, for example. So in the form, you can also specify what out of the 4 options provided by Airbnb you want us to apply with the first connection. With that said, you can change all of this later on when the connection has been established yourself from your Lodgify account. Finally, once the connectivity team at Lodgify takes care of your connection, we will send you a confirmation by email that looks something like this. So at this point, you know that your listings have been successfully connected to us and that the synchronization is already up and running. But what is going to happen after the connection has been established. Currently with Airbnb, we have two different synchronization category. One is called full sync and the other one is called limited sync. And it's up to you to choose on which category or which type of synchronization you want to use. With the full synchronization, you will be able to manage not just rates and availability as you would with the limited synchronization, but also the content of the listing. What is the content of the listing, or what does the full synchronization include? Listing details, so name and description, amenities and house rules, so rooms, sleeping arrangement, amenities, house rules. So, for example, if you accept pets or if you allow events, smoking, and children as well. And then also photos and location, so the listing photos, the listing address, and the direction. All of this is managed from Lodgify if you choose the full synchronization. Normally, when we activate the connection, so when we set up the connection for you, we would go with the limited synchronization. But again, at any point, you can switch from one to the other. If you prefer to manage everything from one platform, that is Lodgify, you can change that at a later time. With the limited and full synchronization, rates and availability are fully managed from Lodgify. You will see that you will lose access to certain settings in Airbnb, or even though you're able to change something in Airbnb, it will be overridden in the next 24 hours by Lodgify settings. And these settings include the price per night that could come from a default or a season rate that you have configured for the rental in Lodgify, nightly overrides that you can configure again on your calendar in Lodgify, and the markup, so the price increase from the price you configure in Lodgify to the price that we will be sending to Airbnb. Plus, the both full and limited sync will include fees, taxes, and promotions that are also managed from Lodgify. There are specific or a few specific settings that you have to keep in mind with fees and taxes. We will talk more about this later. And then, of course, the availability is fully managed from Lodgify as well. So your Lodgify calendar becomes your central calendar from which you can manage your Airbnb calendar. So if you want to create a closed period, you have to do it in in Lodgify in order for your calendar on Airbnb to block as well. Let's talk a little bit closer. Let's look a little bit closer at fees and taxes, okay? Because as we said, the integration that we have with Airbnb allows fees and taxes to be configured in Lodgify and exported to Airbnb. As for fees, if you configure a cleaning fee in Lodgify, making sure to assign the fee type cleaning fee, this fee will, as we said, be exported to Airbnb, and it will show in a separate line of the booking breakdown here. However, any other fee, such as a management fee that you can configure in Lodgify, will be exported to Airbnb, but it will be included in the room rate. So we send it inside the room rate. We don't show it, Airbnb doesn't show it in a separate line of the booking breakdown. As for taxes, as we said, we do have the option to export taxes from Lodgify to Airbnb. However, this possibility is restricted based on your tax scenario. What is the tax scenario? The tax scenario is something that Airbnb assigns to each listing based on their policies. Normally, it depends on the location, okay, of the listings. Even though I'm not sure exactly what are the factors and criteria that Airbnb considers when assigning the tax scenario. There are currently 4 different tax scenarios that your listings can be assigned with. The first one would be ineligible. This tax scenario basically prevents you from exporting taxes from Lodgify to Airbnb. If your tax scenario is ineligible, taxes that you have created in Lodgify will not be exported to Airbnb. This is the only scenario where taxes are not exported. No Airbnb collected taxes means that Airbnb is not collecting or remitting any taxes on your behalf. But if you do have taxes configured in Lodgify, those will be exported to Airbnb and you can charge those to your Airbnb guests. Override Airbnb collected taxes. Airbnb is indeed collecting some taxes on your behalf. Some taxes, such as the occupancy tax or the sales tax, that depends. If you create the same tax in Lodgify, so let's say you have the occupancy tax already created in Airbnb and you create an occupancy tax in Lodgify, Lodgify occupancy tax will override the Airbnb one. Okay. And the fourth and last tax scenario will be stacked Airbnb collected taxes, which means Airbnb is collecting certain taxes on your behalf. If you configure the same tax in Lodgify, the two will be added one on top of the other. So if you have the occupancy tax in Airbnb and you create one in Lodgify, the sum of the two will be the occupancy tax charged on your bookings on Airbnb. So only if you're ineligible, taxes can't be exported from Lodgify. For all the other tax scenarios, taxes can be exported to Lodgify. To Airbnb. What changes is how they will be calculated, basically in the bookings in Airbnb. But how do you configure taxes if you're not ineligible in Lodgify in order for these taxes to be actually exported? First, you create the tax in Lodgify, and then you have to be sure to assign the tax a type. If you leave it as unknown, the tax will not be exported. So be sure to select one of these options. These are the taxes that are supported by Airbnb. Okay, so any of this will do. The step number 2, you will find at the bottom of the fees and tax section of your rental in Lodgify, you will find this field for tax information. Both the business tax ID and the TOT registration ID fields must be filled in. But where can you get the business tax ID? From Airbnb. Okay, so if you reach out to Airbnb, or I'm sure this info may be visible somewhere in your Airbnb account, I'm not sure, but it's Airbnb providing you with your business tax ID. Make sure that both fields are filled in. Otherwise, again, the tax will not be exported. And last but not least, the last step for taxes to be exported will be to head to the sync settings section of your rental in Lodgify. Scroll down to the bottom of the page. You will find these two toggles. I acknowledge that I understand the tax collection scenario and send user taxes. Both toggles must be on in order for taxes to be exported. So if you're not ineligible and your taxes have been configured following these steps, they will be exported to Airbnb. Okay. In general, taxes in Airbnb are all gathered or merged together into one single tax line, so they don't display separately. But that works the same on whether you're connected to Lodgify or not. I want to spend 2 minutes talking about derived rates, because we saw previously that the synchronization, whether it's full or limited, allows fees and taxes, as we said, to be exported from Lodgify to Airbnb. But is it possible, or what do I do if I have this fee? Yeah, I have created this fee, but I want this fee to apply to my Lodgify bookings. I don't want the fee to be exported to Airbnb, but I have to create it in Lodgify for it to at least apply to Lodgify bookings. Same for taxes. You can do that. So you can be flexible in what fees and taxes and also promotions you want to export to Airbnb, or just apply just to Airbnb bookings or just to Lodgify bookings. That is done through derived rates in Lodgify. So to give you a little bit of context, when we connect to Airbnb, we export this base rate. The base rate includes the price per night that can be given by your default rate, season rate, nightly override, including the markup, etc. But the base rate that we connect to Airbnb also includes fees, taxes, and promotion. If there's one fee, one tax, one promotion, or multiple fees, taxes, and promotion that you have created for one booking source specifically, be it Lodgify or Airbnb, you can use derived rates to decide which or to which channel should each one apply. You first have to create a derived rate in Lodgify. Then you will have to adjust the restriction of the desired fees, taxes, and promotion from the fees and taxes section or promotion section in Lodgify. You just click on edit restriction, and then you have to unassign it from the derived rate that you have just created. By doing so, only the items, so fees, taxes, and promotions that are assigned to the derived rate will be exported to Airbnb or not, depending on if it's ticked or not. Everything else will just apply to your Lodgify bookings. For this, if you find yourself in the need of creating a derived rate and restrict fees, taxes, and promotion to a specific channel, you can definitely contact us. We will help you with the setup and also make sure that the right rate is connected to Airbnb. But just so you know, in case you want to be more flexible with what fees, taxes, and promotions should apply to just Lodgify or to just Airbnb, there's the option to do that in Lodgify. All right, and that is done through derived rates. Now, as we said at the beginning, we ask you what settings you want us to apply to your Airbnb listing when we are connecting it, right? However, after the connection, you can pretty much manage all of those listings from Lodgify. In the sync settings page of your Lodgify rental, so if you have your Lodgify account open in front of you, just open your rental. On the menu on the side at the bottom, there's a section dedicated to channels. Click on sync settings. From there, you can change the markup. You can change from instant booking to booking request or vice versa. You can change the amount of the security deposit. You can change the calendar settings, such as the booking window, the advance notice. You can also decide to publish and unpublish the listing on Airbnb, and to go back to what Marisa said earlier. As for the guest requirements, as you can see, you can manage those as well from Lodgify. So in case you currently have government ID and then you decide that you want to change to everyone or experienced guest, you can do it from here. And it will apply, these changes apply immediately. So it's instantly, your Airbnb listing is instantly updated with the changes. Okay, so next, the messaging integration. What if I need to send a message to my Airbnb guest? Can I send it from Lodgify, or can the guest see the message that I sent from Lodgify in the Airbnb inbox? Yes, they can. Our inboxes, so Lodgify inbox and Airbnb inbox, are fully integrated. What does it mean? That anything that happens in Lodgify will reflect in Airbnb. Anything that happens in Airbnb will reflect in Lodgify as well. So you can send a message to your guest from Lodgify. A message can be a message that you manually type in the Lodgify inbox, but it can also be an automatic response from the ones available in Lodgify, or a custom response, or a saved reply. Any message that you send from Lodgify will be visible in both your Lodgify inbox and your Airbnb inbox, so that you can see it, your guests can see it. I mean, the guest in question can see it. If the guest replies, and clearly the guest can only reply from Airbnb, because the guest doesn't have access to Lodgify. If the guest replies from Airbnb, that message will show in your Airbnb inbox and in your Lodgify inbox. So basically, you can exchange or interact with your guests from both platforms without the guest even noticing, because whatever you send from Lodgify or from Airbnb will be there for them to see anytime. Okay. And last but not least, of course, we have recently developed an integration with the Airbnb reviews. So the good news is that now Airbnb reviews can be fully managed from Lodgify. Airbnb has some rules when it comes to the reviews. Basically, right after the guest checks out, both you and your guests have 14 days to review each other. So you as the host can review the guest can review you or your property within 14 days after checkout. Once you or the guest add a new review, it will now show in the Lodgify, in your Lodgify account, in the review section of your Lodgify account. Now there's a section that is specific for Airbnb reviews. From here, you can either reply to a guest review and also write a review for one of your guests or for more than one of your guests. And the reviews will then be automatically published on the Airbnb listing page. So pretty much now managing the reviews can be done from Lodgify as well. In conclusion, I cannot think of anything that you cannot manage in Lodgify for your Airbnb listings, basically. Of course, if you choose a limited synchronization instead of the full one, that will mean that some things will still have to be managed in Airbnb, such as the listing content that includes photos, address, amenities, anything that has to do with the content of the listing and not with rates and availability. Now, I have collected a few common questions that we get from our customers related to the integration with Airbnb that I want to share with you. And after this, we will move to the Q&A. So we will answer the questions that we have received in the chat that I see is moving quite fast. So let's start with the first very common case or request that we get from our customers. Are all amenities I select in Lodgify synced with Airbnb? Now, first of all, you have to be sure that you are using full synchronization. Otherwise, you would have to manage your amenities in Airbnb. But if you are using a full synchronization, not all amenities are synced between the two platforms. The reason why is that there are some amenities in Lodgify that don't exist in Airbnb and some amenities in Airbnb that don't exist in Lodgify. Therefore, those can't be mapped. If you find that you need an amenity that can't be mapped because we don't have it, feel free to share the feedback with us and let us know so we can pass it to our product team. But how do you know if an amenity is mapped with Airbnb or not? If you look at the amenities in your Lodgify account and you're connected to Airbnb, you will be able to see the Airbnb icon next to each one of them. And if you see the icon, that means it's mapped. If you don't see the icon, that means it's not mapped, okay? So it's quite easy to identify the ones that won't be mapped. Second question, can I export the pet fee from Lodgify to Airbnb? Very, very common request. The good news is that yes, you can. It is to configure the pet fee in Lodgify and export it to Airbnb, it must be configured in a certain way using derived rates. So for this specific case and request, I suggest that you simply reach out to us, help@lodgify.com. We will help you setting it up. But yes, it is possible. And finally, last question, will my Airbnb reviews automatically display on my Lodgify website? That is not possible because Airbnb basically forbids to publish reviews on third-party websites. So your Airbnb reviews will be published on the public listing page, but not on the Lodgify website because of the Airbnb policy. Okay, since we still have a little bit of time, I take the opportunity also to mention another very common request that we get, or at least to try to explain something related to a very common request that we get. After the connection, a lot of our customers contact us and they ask why they don't see their prices updated on their host calendar in Airbnb. So we have just connected your listing. You open your Airbnb, the host calendar of your listing in Airbnb, and the prices are not up to date. Why is that? That is completely normal. That is just a display limitation of your prices in your host calendar in Airbnb. We guarantee that the prices that you have configured in Lodgify are being exported and are applying in Airbnb. It's just they don't display on your host calendar in Airbnb. So it's just a display limitation. However, if you open your listing on the public page and try to simulate a booking as if you were a guest, you will see that the prices match perfectly. So do not worry, it's just a calendar display discrepancy, but nothing else. The synchronization is working. All right. Okay, so with that said, we have quite some time left, which is great. So we can go over the questions that you shared with us in the chat. I think there are a lot of questions. I don't know if Patty and Marisa can confirm, but it wouldn't stop moving. So some questions have been moved to the Q&A. So let's start there. Bob is asking, I am not an API user so far and have a listing in Mexico. Is my listing going to be converted to the 15% owner paid fee if we connect? Now, I don't remember exactly the list of countries. Maybe, Patty, you remember, or you have the knowledge base in front of you?
Yes, I do. We have a knowledge base article that has this information very detailed. This 15% fee that Airbnb is charging, it depends on where your listing is located. Right now, I can see that in our knowledge base, it is detailed that Mexico is one of the countries affected. So if your listing it's in there, then yes, you will have this change of your Airbnb service fee.
Yeah, just to give you a little bit of context, for the listings located in certain countries, if you connect to a channel manager, Airbnb will change your fee structure and you, as a host, will be charged 15% on each booking. Not in every country, some countries. So if you want to know if your country is affected, the information is available definitely. I think in Airbnb is available, but also in our knowledge base. However, with the you can set up a 15% markup in Lodgify so that your Airbnb prices are increased by 15%, and this should help you cover for those fees basically charged by Airbnb. But apparently, yes, Mexico is one of the countries affected by the fee structure change. Next question is again from Bob. How do we know if we qualify for these promotions? Maybe Marisa, you want to take this one?
Yes, so you can check if you're qualified for the promotions from your Airbnb account. Let me quickly just share, I think it was previously shared in the chat, but I will share again. It's a link that describes a bit more the new listing promotion, and there's a button on this one pager that says opt-in, and that will take you to the page directly in your Airbnb account where it'll tell you what promotions you're eligible for. And the new listing promotion will create one of those strike throughs on your pricing so that the guests can clearly see that there's a promotion there.
Thanks. There's another question related to this, the next one from Mira, and sorry if I'm not pronouncing your name right. Why don't you email the owners with listings who meet each of the criteria you have mentioned with ways they could improve their specific listings?
Yeah, absolutely. So this was a study that we just did with Airbnb pretty much yesterday, so it's last minute, but we do have plans to further drill down on that study and do some segmented emails to users suggesting things that they could check or enhance, or if you were part of that opportunities group. But there are some things that you can go ahead and take a look at yourself, right? So like the government ID is easily checked in Lodgify. You can go and play around with that setting. So I recommend just going and taking a look and reviewing. And again, some of the suggestions are subjective, right? So the booking settings and the cleaning fee, these are things that are up to you and your business. So we're not going to get involved, but they're just suggestions.
Thank you. The next question is from Blaine. Will VRB integration be covered in this series? It was actually the previous episode of the Mastering Logify series, so you'll find the recording of that in our YouTube channel.
Adri,
Um,
sorry
yeah.
to interrupt, but looking into more the host change for the fee in Airbnb, I have good news for Bob. I just went very quickly and did some double checking. So all Airbnb accounts that come connected to the API will have a change, but there are some listings that have the option to some countries that have the option to change that collection model, and Mexico is one of them. So you can definitely go to make sure to talk to Airbnb support and let them know that if you want to stick to the usual host fee way that you were collecting it before, so without the 15%, you have the option to keep yourself with that one. If not, Airbnb will change it to the host only fee of 15%, but you have the option to keep it as it is right now, as you're not API connected. So good news.
Good news. And I would still suggest you, Bob, in this case, but anybody who's interested in, I would suggest to reach out to Airbnb to get more information on this, because it's their policy. Maybe we can read what's public on their pages. But if you want to know for your case and listing specifically, I would always recommend that you reach out to them and have them confirm to you whether you're eligible or not. But yeah, it seems like it is a good news for you in the end. Okay, Bob again is asking, why would you not want full synchronization for the listing? Because, as for example, the amenities, as we said, maybe not all the amenities that you need can be mapped because they don't exist in both platforms, or certain things are not allowed, or just because you prefer to have a different description. Maybe you want to have a longer description of your rental in Lodgify, while Airbnb has certain restrictions for the description. It cannot be more than 500 characters, but on your website you want to be able to advertise it in a different way or showcase it in a different way. So the two could conflict at some point. So in that case, there's no better way, or there's not a way or a category that is better than the other. It pretty much depends on what you need, and how you want to manage the two channels. So Lodgify and your Lodgify website and your Lodgify bookings and your Airbnb listing on the Airbnb platform. So it's not that one way is better than the others, just depends on what you need and what you want from each channel, basically, from each booking source. Bob is also asking, if you enable full sync, what would still need to be configured in Airbnb? Now, I'm not sure. I think nothing, but maybe Patty, you.
Indeed. So with full sync, you have, again, full control of your listing from Lodgify. There are, however, still some things that you can manage from Airbnb. There are some promotions that you can go ahead in your Airbnb account and set up for each listings. However, we do not fully recommend going ahead and, creating promotions directly on Airbnb, because then the pricing that we send from Lodgify might be affected and you might find some discrepancies after doing those things. So our pure advice is to do everything from Lodgify, but there is nothing in terms of photos, description, content, pricing. All of those things can be managed from Lodgify if you're using full sync.
Thanks, Patty. I think you can take the next one from EV130 as well, which is about promotions related. Airbnb promotions. How do we create a strike-through price in Airbnb so guests see that they're getting a discount?
Okay, so the way that Lodgify is currently exporting promotions, for the majority of them, we export promotions inside the price that we set, right? So not all promotions can have this strike-through price so your guests can visibly see that you're having a discount. However, for the earlier promotion exporting from Lodgify, you can definitely achieve that. So if you would like to set up something like that, go for the early bird promotion. Your guests will see it. For other type of promotions, as I said, we import it inside the price, so they won't be able to see the strike through. However, that is great feedback, and we'll definitely understand why you as a host will want your guests to visibly see that. So yeah, definitely something for our product team to work on.
I think this info is also available in the knowledge base article about the REST API connection that we have with Airbnb. In case you want to read it later on, everything should be explained there as well. Bob is also asking about taxes. If Airbnb is already set to collect taxes and we want to continue to have Airbnb collect the taxes, do we need to take any action? If you don't want to manage your taxes from Lodgify, simply do not follow those 3 steps of the tax configuration that I explained earlier. Basically, if you create the tax in Lodgify and your tax scenario allows you to export those taxes to Airbnb, you can simply leave the tax without selecting the tax type, or simply not adding any business ID in Lodgify, or simply not toggling on those 2 options to send taxes, and taxes will not be exported. So really, I think that at the time of the connection, so when we send you the confirmation email, if you have taxes created in Lodgify, pre-created in Lodgify, so before the connection, you would still have to follow those instructions for the taxes to be exported. And we send you the instruction in the email confirmation that is sent after the connection. Simply ignore those steps. Don't do any of those things, and taxes will not be exported. And Airbnb will continue to manage everything as they are doing, or as it was doing before you connected to the channel manager. Keith is asking, when you initiate a promotion with Airbnb, you get additional marketing benefits such as email blasts, search highlights, etc. If you do the promotion within Lodgify and push it to Airbnb, will you still receive these benefits? Alternatively, if you do the promo directly in Airbnb to keep the marketing benefits, will the price sync back to Lodgify? I don't know if Marissa, you have any insights on this?
Sorry, I was responding to the chat. Can you repeat the question?
No worries. It's a question from Kate, and she's asking whether if the promotion, or if you have any information about this, if the promotion that you were mentioning earlier are created in Lodgify rather than Airbnb, will these affect all the marketing benefits that Airbnb customers normally get from Airbnb? To mention a few: email blasts, search highlights, etc. I don't know if you know.
So the new listing promotion isn't manageable from Lodgify. So that one I know you have to apply on Airbnb directly. But Patricia mentioned earlier, I think the early bird, I'm not sure if that one's manageable from Lodgify. It is. Okay, great. So that one you can. And you can, I shared a link with a one pager that shows a bit more about that early bird special. Some people were saying that it wasn't working, so that's why I was responding in the chat. But it does come with some marketing benefits. So like I said, it'll have the strike through pricing. And then I think it also will include you in an email that Airbnb sends to its guest community, just saying, hey, these are our new listings, or these are new listings with discounts applied.
We could definitely look more into this and maybe get back to you in the follow-up email to see if it's better to create the promotion in Airbnb. Then we will give you like a solid answer in, or if it's not even possible to create it in Lodgify, these promotions that Marissa was.
At the moment, the new listing one isn't, but it is something that our product team is working on. So in the next couple of months, you'll be able to do it from Lodgify as well.
Great. Next question is from Linda. Does Airbnb have the authority to override our cancellation policy? Now, when it comes to the cancellation policy, I don't know exactly what you're referring to, but the cancellation policy can be exported from Lodgify, okay, but not the one that you create for your Lodgify rental. When you complete the form to connect to Airbnb, we ask you which one of these cancellation policy you want to apply to your Airbnb listing, and those are the policies supported by Airbnb. So the options are limited to what Airbnb already allows you to do if you're not connected. Now, the only if you're using full synchronization, the policy that you have selected for Airbnb, I don't know, maybe the moderate or the flexible, relaxed, whichever one you have chosen, will be managed from Airbnb. If you want to change, from Lodgify, you will change it from Lodgify, etc. If you're using a limited sync with Lodgify, then the policy is managed in Airbnb, but it's still the same options, moderate, flexible, but you would have to change it from Airbnb. I don't think Airbnb deliberately changes your cancellation policy, but the cancellation policy you have in Airbnb, if it's managed from Lodgify, it is still one of the options that Airbnb would support, not the policy that you have configured in Lodgify for your rental and for your direct bookings. Linda also asks, I have two properties listed as connected to Airbnb, but one shows failed to sync. Maybe for this, we would need your account details. So I would suggest that you reach out to the connectivity team. Just from your account, you can contact us on the right side menu. You can click on Quick Help and open a case with us, or also you can send an email to help@lodgify.com, and we will be it will be a little bit easier for us to help you with that just by looking at your account. How does a Lodgify host keep the Airbnb booking window long, 6+ months, and shorten the VRB booking window under 30 days for only last minute bookings? Patty, you want to take this one?
Yeah, I'm not really sure about the only last minute booking, but the way that you can manage the booking window for Airbnb, you can do it from your Airbnb sync settings page on every single listing you have connected with Lodgify. Of course, to Airbnb, you have a specific page where you can manage a lot of things by yourself. One of those things is the booking window. You can select the option that fits best for you. And for BRBO booking window, since it's a different platform, the feed for that information, it's taken directly from your Lodgify settings. So it's a different feed for you can have two different ones for Airbnb booking in VRBO.
Right. I'm also not sure that it is possible to have the booking window configured in a specific way just for last minute bookings, but you can definitely have two different booking windows per channel. Erin is asking, if a renter needs to change their payment method, example, new credit card, do they do this in Airbnb? Yes. Basically, Airbnb bookings are imported into Lodgify so that you can see the booking details in Lodgify, the guest name, the price, etc. However, everything related or affecting a booking happens in Airbnb. That means payments are collected by Airbnb. Refunds are also managed by Airbnb. The security deposit is also managed by Airbnb. We just send the amount of the security deposit, but then it will be handled in Airbnb. And this also applies to any changes to the booking. So if you want to change the dates, for example, or you want to change the listing or the number of guests or the prices, etc., happens in Airbnb. And then it also updates in Lodgify. But the action itself is performed in Airbnb. And same applies, of course, to cancellation. So the guest or yourself can cancel the booking, but just from Airbnb. And then that status update will also reflect on your Lodgify account. This is asking, if you add an amenity or feature that is not available within Lodgify directly in Airbnb, will it stick or be overridden, removed at next sync? Maybe, Patrick, you can confirm. I think it will be overridden, but you...
Yes, it will. It is a great question though. So this is important to keep in mind that this will only happen if you have full sync, because amenities are only synced with Airbnb if you're using full sync. If there is something that is not available in Lodgify and it's an amenity on Airbnb, if you go ahead and toggle it on Airbnb while having full sync, since it is missing in Lodgify, by the next sync that will happen automatically, that other amenity that you selected on Airbnb will get basically deleted because it is not coming from the feed from Lodgify. So that is something great to keep in mind if you're using full sync. Maybe not everything in Lodgify has an equivalent amenity in Airbnb or vice versa. I think this is also a great question that supports one of your answers, Adri, to one or other question that said, why would you not want to use full sync? This is one of the options that may answer also that question.
Totally. Thanks, Patty. Another question from Selma. She's asking, hello, can I use the same Lodgify account for listings that have different currencies? Definitely, there's no specific requirements for currencies. So whether you're talking about your Lodgify rentals or your Airbnb listings, you can have different currencies for all of them and it wouldn't be an issue whatsoever. So yes, the answer is yes. Kelly asks, can you send an attachment from Lodgify messaging to Airbnb client? I think you can, but Patty, can you
It
confirm?
depends what we consider as an attachment. PDFs and docs are not exported, but the pictures and they you include in your Logify messaging will be sent to Airbnb, and again, your Airbnb guests will be able to see those. But docs, it's not currently supported by the messaging integration.
Yeah. Now we have an interesting question from Emanuele. Can co-hosts get access to Logify newsletter and see the latest improvements you are implementing? Now, I guess that they can definitely subscribe to the newsletter, and they will get the same notification or emails that you get. So just share with them, or if we can share quickly in the chat the link so that they can subscribe to the newsletter. But anybody pretty much can subscribe to Logify newsletter to learn about the improvements. And also there's the roadmap page that they can use to keep up with the new features and new launches. That would be roadmap.logify.com. So if you type roadmap.logify.com, you will find it's just a public page, so everybody can access it. You can find what we are working on. You can share your feedback, and you can also see what were the features that were released recently. Mira or Myra, where are you able to see and change guest restrictions? From the sync settings page of your rental. So open your Lodgify rental or your rental in Lodgify. At the bottom of the menu on the left, there is a section called channels. Just click on sync settings and you will be able to change the guest requirements from there or guest restrictions from there. Mia is thanking Myra for the question. Is it possible to override the deposit collection with Airbnb to collect a portion at time of booking? The payment schedule of your Airbnb bookings is still managed in Airbnb. Patty, correct me if I'm wrong. So the way the guest will be charged depends on your settings on your payment configuration in Airbnb. So that is not managed from Lodgify, right? Because it's about bookings. So as we said, everything that revolves around the booking is managed in Airbnb, right?
Yeah, definitely. If you mean the deposit collection, this is for Erin, of course. If you mean the damage deposit, something that you have, charged separately from the room rate and other fees, that's still something that, the whole collection process is managed on Airbnb. We can, the part, Logify can export the amount of that deposit that you wish to collect, but again, since everything regarding payments, it's Airbnb, make sure to reach out to Airbnb support to see if you can manage that in a way that fits best for you.
Thanks. Hivi 130 is asking, how does Logify recommend collecting Airbnb guests' emails to promote our personal Logify created website? That's an interesting question.
I can take this one.
Of course.
Yeah, so Airbnb actually uses alias emails, right? So there's not really an easy way to collect it, but you can get your guest emails through our integrations with our third-party apps. So there's a couple different ways. You can do a pre-check-in form that gets sent to the guest. So it'll get sent from the third-party app, like Check-in, for example, or Enzo Connect. They send it through the Lodgify inbox, so it makes it to the guest, and then the guest fills out the form, and that third-party app collects the guest's actual email address. So then you can start to create your own CRM. There's another company called StayFi, which does it through Wi-Fi, so that you create your own splash page for your Wi-Fi. So every guest that goes to your rental and uses your Wi-Fi has to put in their email address, similar to what you can see at an airport. And that's another way that they collect the actual email address and create a CRM for you to then be able to reach back out to those guests. And we are also planning on developing an internal CRM. It's on our roadmap. There's no timeline for it yet, but it is on our mind and on our plans.
Nice. There's a question from Mia. I'm going to read it. When does Airbnb pay the owner manager? I would say that maybe Airbnb can help you with that. That depends on their policy or the agreement that you have with them. So the host payout with Airbnb, I would suggest that you talk to Airbnb directly because it's not managed from Lodgify. I think maybe we can answer a couple more. And then for the ones that we miss, we will send the answers in the follow-up email. I email my guests their rental agreement on an attached PDF form from my business email. My rental agreement is guest and date specific. I just simply inform traveler guests that this is part of my house rules. So I guess this was a suggestion that Mia was sharing with everyone else on how to share in, because I think it goes back to the not being able to attach PDF to the messages. So thanks. Am I understanding this correctly, that I have to set up an account listing with Airbnb before we can sync with Lodgify? Yes, that is right. The account must exist before the connection. The listings, not necessarily, but the account, you have to have an account with Airbnb first, and then we can push the listings or connect them after that. But this is the only requirement, having an account in Airbnb. I would say last question from Beth. I am in the US, and because I use Lodgify, I am charged 15% and the guest pays nothing. I was not given any other option. Therefore, I have to do a derived rate and add 15% to the rate to offset this inconvenience. This makes me less competitive in my market. Is there any other option? It's weird that you are in the US and you were affected by the host, so the fee changed, like the structure, because as far as I remember, US is in the list of countries not affected by the change. But if you do, if you are indeed affected, there is no other way rather than having this 15% markup. You don't need a derived rate for that. But increasing the prices by 15% is the only way that you have to counterbalance the 15% charged by Airbnb. Unfortunately, we have no say whatsoever in this. This is an Airbnb policy, and we cannot do much. Actually, there's nothing that we can do to change it. But for the derived rate, you again contact us at help@lodgify.com, because I don't think you need it for this reason. Maybe you're using it for something different, but if it's just for the 15%, you don't need to use derived rates. Okay, in the Q&A, there's just one question left. I'm going to read it very quickly, and then we can close the meeting. How do we get more information on the Lodgify expense tracking system? Reports of OTA guests, say cleaner fees, furniture. There we do have an accounting tool within our system. It's part of the PM modules. You must have ultimate subscription to Lodgify to be able to access that. But in the accounting tool, there's also Airbnb bookings and Airbnb commissions are synchronized and accounted for. So again, For more specific instructions, feel free to contact us. We will take a look at your account and give you tailored instructions or suggestions. But we do have an accounting tool within our system. Plus, we also integrate with external accounting tools as well. So we can show you both options. Just contact us at Lodgify, and we will be happy to give you more details on this. Okay, I think this was amazing. We were able to answer a lot of questions, which was great because this means that we can actually address your concerns and your doubts, which is the most important thing for these webinars, right? So thank you very much, everybody, for joining, for asking questions. And do not worry, it was a lot of information that you have received in a very short time. So do not worry, the recording will be sent to you by email. It will be uploaded to YouTube. So it's there. If tomorrow you want to rewatch it, or if in 1 month you don't remember anything about the taxes, the recording will be there. And I also want to thank Patricia and Marisa for participating, for joining, for sharing their knowledge, their insights. Thank you, girls. And as we said at the beginning, stay tuned, look at your inbox, because we will be sending more of these invitations in the upcoming months for more and more of these webinars. Thank you, and have a great rest of the day, everybody. Ciao.
Thanks. Bye.